This is Tony, CEO of Zappos, located right now in downtown Las Vegas.
Hey, I'm Matt Rubinstein, founder and CEO of LiveSchool, Wall Street Journal Startup of the Year participant. Our company helps schools track and improve school culture. And we're really excited because there's schools all across the country still using paper, believe it or not. And we're here to help them get more efficient.
Yeah, so when I was Matt, when I was looking at all the different startups to interact with, I just read your headline and thought that was really interesting because at Zappos for those watching that may not know, we started out in '99, been around for a little over 14 years now, and selling shoes and clothing and other stuff online, but really trying to build the brand around customer service. And the way that we've gone about it is by actually making company culture the #1 priority of the company. And our belief is that if we get the culture right, then most of the other stuff like delivering great service or building a long-term enduring brand or business will just be a natural byproduct. And so was super interested in when I saw the word culture in the description of your business, and so would love to learn more about it. And then also separately from Zappos, we're about 2 months away from relocating to downtown Vegas, and we're actually there's a separate company called Downtown Project that's focused on helping revitalize downtown Vegas, and one of our projects is actually opening up an early childhood center and school as
Wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm super excited to meet you. I'm definitely familiar with kind of your gospel, and I'm a believer. So excited to talk about it. Yeah, culture is interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well, because I think, at least in our context, people don't always necessarily like get it immediately what we're trying to do. So, we've been just in terms of kind of positioning our company and explaining to folks what we do. We talk about culture as the big idea, and then we kind of break it down into its parts. Um, so those for us, some of the big things, behavior management's a really big one. It's sort of the cornerstone, at least in terms of turning around a school culture that's going wrong. And unfortunately, a lot of schools in the country right now are not super happy places for all the stakeholders, the kids, the teachers, and the
so.
administrators.
So when you
So
say
behaviors,
school culture,
yeah,
are you how do you think of it? Is it I mean, obviously all the different parts are important, but do you think of it more from the staff culture or more from the culture of the students?
yeah, I mean, so there's four big stakeholders we think about: students, teachers, of course, administrators, and parents as well. I think, by the sheer volume of them, like kids are really important. And if you can't get kids invested, you're in big trouble. And honestly, I think how we think about some of the challenges schools are facing right now in terms of engagement, dropout rates, attendance, discipline, it all comes from, hey, is that kid psyched to come to school every day? And, unfortunately, a lot of kids aren't. And we really want to help that. Um, and so just a quick note on sort of like how we're big believers in incentives. People do stuff based on incentives. It doesn't mean they're kind of being bribed. It means that, it's meaningful for us as human beings to have a goal and go after it and get it. So for us, one of the things we help schools do is like create robust incentive systems in their schools, because we want kids to feel like there's a bunch of awesome stuff that I can work hard to get. You know what I mean? And it's not always tangible things. A lot of times it's privileges, like coming to school out of uniform, or being able to sit at a special table with your friends at lunch, stuff like that, or use the computers. But just this idea that like kids should have more choice and more kind of meaning in the stuff they're working on, rather than just sort of like, hey, here's a worksheet, you need to master this concept, stuff like that.
Right. So one thing I would, I guess, encourage you to think about and maybe research a little bit more is, and I don't know enough about kids in the school context, but for us at Zappos, we have our customer loyalty team is what we call our call center. There's 500 plus folks just in the call center, and there's a lot of call centers out there that are structured in terms of incentives. And people ask, how do we incent our employees, whether the call center employees or otherwise? And we actually don't do incentives or commissions and so on. And one of our learnings over the years was, because there's lots of different ways you can motivate employees. You can motivate them through incentives, which is basically if you do X, then I'll give you Y. You can motivate employees through recognition. A lot of corporate America motivates employees through fear. But what we kind of discovered over the years is there's actually a huge difference between motivation and inspiration. And what we found is
Hmm.
that if you can inspire your employees through uh, a few things, if you can inspire your employees through a vision that has a higher purpose beyond just money or profits or being number one in the market, if you can inspire that has through something that has meaning to them about being part of something bigger than themselves, and if you can inspire employees through values, not just stated values, but actually practice company values that
Hmm.
match their own personal values, then you can actually accomplish so much more, and you don't really need to worry as much about the motivation side of it. So I would say think about what's kind of the analogous thing for kids. Like
Yeah.
yes, incentives are a great way to get them to do stuff, but uh, how do you? We actually had so as part of what we're doing downtown, we have this thing called Downtown Speaker Series, and yesterday just saw a talk by the human calculator. He actually holds the Guinness Book World Records for
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard
crazy
it. That's
stuff.
cool stuff.
And he's actually now being involved with the early childhood center that we're opening up in downtown Vegas. But his whole philosophy that he was talking about yesterday was rather than incent kids to do math, like actually figure out how to get them to inherently want to be excited about math and can't wait to go home and tell their parents about the latest math trick that they learned. And he was doing all these really cool tricks. Like by the end of his session yesterday, he had the audience, which was not a math audience, adding up four different three-digit numbers in real time together, which seemed like an impossible task like just half an hour earlier. So once people kind of learn these things,
Yeah.
so I guess my feedback would be definitely incentives are effective up to a certain point, but think about how do you inspire that kind of thirst for learning.
Yeah, I'm totally on board, and we are thinking a lot about that because we really don't think about this as a system for like physical things so much as like the meaning and the recognition component, which I think, your concept of like vision, a company-wide vision kind of translates to a school-wide vision, right? Like what are kids really bought into and excited about? I do have a question back to you though. I understand that you don't actually have sort of incentives based on performance, but are you measuring performance, and is that data transparent? And is that a source of pride and enthusiasm for folks?
Yeah, and I guess I guess the keyword there is what performance, like what actually counts as good performance. And in most other call centers, what counts as good performance is all about, it's either about efficiency, how quickly can you get the customer off the phone, or it's about sales. And so we don't track either of those because we don't view that as good performance from the Zappos perspective. We instead look at customer interaction and whether you developed a personal emotional connection with the customer and so on. So we do care about performance, just not maybe more traditional call center performance. One other thing, I actually there's a friend of mine that actually works for Teach for America, which in
Nice.
Nashville actually, and
Oh wait,
so I reached out
Zach, can we
to.
say it on? Okay.
Uh, how about you
I
can
don't know if we can say.
why don't you email
Yeah,
me
I'll email you.
email me
Yeah,
after this and I'll connect you guys. But
cool.
I had her look at your thing, so I just wanted to read some feedback from her because she comes from an education background.
Nice. Thanks.
She says the concept is pretty incredible. The kind of technology in the hands of super talented people helped Kip Nashville become the #1 school in the district when it comes to driving student academic growth. Um, and she would be thrilled to see it spread, but it's only as good as the people using it committed to it. So she has questions about training and customer service and how do you scale well when you're in the game of changing mindsets. The market is rife with all kinds of gadgets and programs, and a lot of it sits unused in our schools.
I think I know who this is.
Okay. And yeah, you can. I think it's
Love
a
it.
relatively small circle. And then would be curious how you plan to address the adaptive challenges inherent in rolling something like this out. Idea is brilliant, but it has the potential to have impact. But people are tricky in day-to-day running of schools and feeling overwhelmed with parents and putting out various fires. How do you keep people engaged with it? And it's more than just a
Yeah.
tech challenge. So.
No, I mean, it's a human capital challenge. And if it's who I think it is, she would totally agree with that. One of the things I think a lot of education companies have really messed up on, and Silicon Valley just nails, is user centricity, ease of use. And we're taking a step forward by packaging training content in video format and providing it with our product. I don't know if I can swear, but I really think it's bull that for a lot of education software programs, you buy the program, then you have to buy training. And a lot of times training isn't like a webinar. Training's like a 70-year-old guy flying to your school for 3 days and boring the hell out of you. So for us, it's like, come on, like training's not a profit center. Training's part of delivering happiness. I mean, to kind of jack your phrase, right? That's what people need to use the product. So I think that's awesome feedback. And,
Yeah,
you know,
so
I'm really interested to connect with her.
yeah, so send me an email after this, and I'll connect you guys on email and send. I only read you part of the email, so I'll forward the whole thing.
Good deal. Thank you, Tony, so much.
All right, take care.